Is it really necessary to have a sleeping pad?
Last night we used the peat moss here to create our own sleeping mat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a lot of this, I'm gonna put it under the tent. We're gonna stack it up, and last night it acted as a, I wanna say like a one inch sleeping mat.
Welcome to 3 tips to help your trips. I've got Jared with you today. How are you doing today, Jared?
Amazing. How about you?
I'm doing excellent because we're talking about gear today. Underrated pieces of gear. Like what does that even mean, underrated gear?
I think what it means is you can't go on a trip without these items.
These are things that we don't think of as being very important. Yeah, like you said, but if you don't have them, then it can actually wreck your trip. So these are the things that we bring every single time that we feel are underrated. They don't get enough credit. They're not the backpack, they're not the sleeping pad, they're not the tent, they're not the biggies, right? So There you go. All right, what's your first one?
My first one would be waterproof matches.
Okay.
These are a necessity, especially for us when we go backpacking in Colorado in the summertime. Always gonna get that afternoon rain, get that afternoon storm. So if you're in a dry climate, may not need these, but for us being in Colorado, these are a necessity. You get into camp, you've been wet all day, the storm has subsided, the stars are coming out, and you go to reach into your pack and your lighter is waterlogged or your matches are just soaked. But these guys will start almost.
Wait, why is your water waterlogged? Why are your matches and your lighter waterlogged? Like, what's the scenario there?
If you're crossing a river and your pack gets dropped in the river or drug along the river, you might have the case where it's wet.
Okay. Frankly, I don't think that's ever gonna happen. I think more likely you're gonna have it raining while you're trying to light something, right? Like a stove or maybe even a campfire in the rain.
So when you get into camp and your pack is just wet from whatever's happened that day, pull out these bad boys and you'll be able to start that fire and warm yourself up and dry yourself out.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So I chose the paracord. I'm kind of floating this around here in the shot. Paracord has so many uses. We actually did a podcast episode on something like 20 different ways to use the paracord. And there's definitely trips where I don't pull it out, but it's just such a handy thing, whether that's hanging your bear food or whether that's, you know, your shoelace broke and so you're retying something, or you come across a bad guy on the trail, you just gotta tie him up so you can escape. This will do all those things.
So when you say hanging your bear food, do you mean like food that you have out on the trail? You're gonna hang it to get that bear to come in. Is that what you mean by bear food?
Yeah, that's what I meant. We're trying to lure the bears in. Not really. Not bear food. Hang your food to keep it away from the bears. Just to clarify. Good catch. Good catch. Anyway, there's a million uses, and that's just a scratch on the surface. All right, what's your number 2?
My second one would be the chair.
Okay. So you think it's essential? This is underrated and essential.
Underrated and essential. Underrated, there's a couple ways it's underrated. There's just, when you get into camp and you just have had the long day of hiking and you can sit back in that chair, man, it just, you take that big breath, there's no other feeling like it. And I'll tell you what won't provide that feeling is those darn sit pads. Those will not provide you the comfort and the luxury that a chair will.
Right. I'll be honest, I don't bring them on every trip, but when I do bring them, I do appreciate them. Here, I'm gonna help you shave some weight right here. Here's a bonus tip right here, shaving some weight off of the chair, okay? So for storage, I like the stuff sack, but I can just simply wrap this up and put this on the side of my backpack. I leave the other thing at home. So this is all you need. And you do that enough times with your stuff sacks and you're gonna shave down the weight for sure. It's gonna be a lot, no, but it adds up. All right.
Pro tip.
So there you go, pro tip right there.
Carl, what's your second one?
Second one, so you mentioned the matches. I like the lighter. So I get the big lighter here, costs $1. That pack of matches that you pulled out costs like $4 or $5, and they just go through them really fast, especially if you need them to start fires, use them to start your stove. This is my stove starter, and if I don't have the waterproof matches, if Jared's not along on the trip with me, then I'll use this obviously to start the campfires as well. But this is the cheapest way, and this will just last forever starting the stove. And so you're turning your stove on and off again, rather than using matches every single time. I think if you're not bringing a lighter, this is definitely an easy thing to bring that can improve the efficiency of your trip.
So earlier I mentioned, you know, the little piece of flint on there can get wet,
Right.
and you're not able to start it. What do you do to keep that dry?
I keep this with like self-contained in my stove, but in terms of keeping it dry, I'm sure there's the potential for water to get in there. Not a problem I've had.
Inside the stove, so not in the packet, not on the hip belt, inside the stove.
This is not a problem I've had. So maybe some folks out there have, but yeah.
It's a good call.
All
I
right.
like it.
Maybe some advice I could take for future trips. And number 3,
My number 3 would be footwear.
so you bring shoes on a trip. Nice.
Yes, I bring shoes on my feet on a trip. Do not bring flip-flops or sandals, I bring shoes. Having good footwear, keeping those feet happy. I would encourage you guys to try different shoes, try them on the trail. You need to go out further than just wearing them around the store or wearing them in your carpeted house. You want to wear the shoes out on the trail. Get some miles in them, on them, put the pack on, see if you're gonna have any sliding around or anything funky going on there.
Put a lot of miles in these right here.
Yeah, I prefer the Adidas Boost system. That's a cushioning system that works well for me. Love these shoes. Love them. My feet are happy on the trail.
Okay. So those are trail running shoes?
Yeah, I prefer a trail running shoe, lighter, more comfortable. I know they aren't for everybody. I feel like I have strong enough ankles that I don't need the extra support of a high top boot, and so yeah, I go with trail running shoes.
Trail running shoes. Okay, interesting. All right. So my last one is the handle on the pot. Not the pot itself, but the handle. Now the handle, when did they invent the pot handle? Like 1,000 years ago, something like that? And people are still not bringing pots with handles. They're bringing the pot grabber. They're bringing the secondary handle where you fix this to the pot, clamping it on there. And this is annoying. It causes spills almost every single time. It's just an extra piece of just metal that you're bringing versus just some thin metal wire. I think you're probably shaving, I don't know, like half an ounce or an ounce by having this thing. Just way more convenient. And so I think if you're bringing the kind of pots where you've got to grab it with a pot grabber, I think get rid of those. Just get a pot with a handle. Simple, helpful, efficient.
Time for an upgrade.
Yeah. So that's it. Who had the better pieces of gear that are underrated? Jared or myself? Please comment below. We would appreciate your feedback. Please consider subscribing to our channel if you're looking for more backpacking information to help make your trips
Better than they already are.